My name is Julia M. Spencer. You just tuned into Real Estate Real Talk on this fine Wednesday afternoon. I believe today is the 10th of May already. Thank you so much for being here. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, but I am back again live here in the studio. It's a little bit of a, overcast day today. I kind of enjoy it, actually. It's before the big heat hits us here in the South. If you're visiting our beautiful city of Savannah, welcome. And if you live here, you already know it's very wonderful here. And I love being back home. I actually am so glad my traveling has finished for now. On my show, Real Estate Real Talk, we talk about anything and everything related to real estate investing. And we do actually also sometimes have interviews of different kinds of people that I bring on the show. Most recently, I've had people that I've interviewed on reverse mortgages, somebody that actually had a reverse mortgage. So if you want to catch up old shows of mine, you can go on the YouTube channel. And it's just my name, Julia M. Spencer. And you can see if you can catch some of the old shows there. You can also catch some of my old shows over on the WRUU.org website. So that is actually something that you can look at anytime. We do have a couple of announcements usually halfway through the show. I try to set up my show in 3 segments. And at the bottom of the hour, we have some announcements usually that we play. And I also do play some music in between. So I wanted to just give you a brief update what I've been up to in the last couple of weeks and why I haven't been here in person. I actually was in Mexico. And before that, I was in New York. So it's just been one trip after the other. It's pretty back to back. So I haven't really had a lot of chances to catch you up on what's going on. But a couple of things have happened here in Savannah that I wanted to talk to you about. And that is very much a lot to do with the tax sale foreclosures that I work with. Now, if you've listened to my show before, you know that I invest a lot in tax sale foreclosures. Not so much here in Chatham County anymore recently, but also in other states and other counties of Georgia as well. And I'm a real estate investor here in the city as well as in unincorporated Chatham County. I also have some real estate in Bibb County, which is Macon, Georgia, and up in Atlanta and Conyers. So we do have always a couple of interesting things to talk about. Previously on the show, I had a partner with me here, Danielle, who was working with me for a while. It's me by myself again. That's why you haven't heard him here on the show in the last couple of weeks, couple of months. Back just me and my kids working on this business. So, but what I wanted to tell you a little bit about is overages and overage investing. It's something very peculiar that happened to me last week regarding this. And if you listen to my show, of course, you know that I'm not really a big overage investor. It is, in my eyes, a cash recovery business, just like debt collection. We'll talk a little bit about what that is. But I was actually contacted while I was away via regular mail, snail mail, by a couple of overage investors telling me that there's some money sitting in some government account, an overage. They didn't call it that, but it was pretty obvious from the letter, that they would help me recover for a small fee. And this was really peculiar to me because I didn't lose any properties at any tax sales. I mean, I'm an investor, so I know my properties and I know when taxes I do, and I do pay them because of this reason specifically. So I was kind of curious why that happened. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. This is an ongoing story, actually. This is not something that has been resolved yet. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'll get right back with the story after some music. I usually, like I mentioned, try to play some music in between my talking segments. And of course, I have a brand new Mexico mix since I just came from Mexico. I'm going to play some music off of that. I'll be right back. So stay on. Don't go anywhere. That was Body on Fire by Soma and Dillastone. This is Julia M. Spencer with Real Estate Real Talk. Thank you for tuning in. And we're talking today about overages. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about what happened to me this last, actually 2 weeks now. I've been kind of in and out of Savannah, and hopefully back for all of summer. I'm actually kind of excited to spend my vacation and my summer months right here at home. I look forward to that. But let's talk a little bit about overages. First off, let me just explain to you what it actually is as far as real estate investing is concerned and why I got involved in this. Basically, as you know, I deal with tax sale foreclosures. I buy and sell properties at tax sale foreclosure sales. Is when people don't pay their taxes. Taxing authority, sometimes the county, sometimes the city, it could be another municipality or some sort of government agency, auctions off the property for what is owed. And they have very different processes from state to state, from county to county, sometimes even from city to city. So it's kind of like this big forest that hasn't been explored. It has been explored actually by other YouTubers, by other investors, but for the most part, a lot of investors are pretty much tight-lipped about this, because if they find a really good source where they can get properties and make money, they're not going to share that with the rest of the world. This is where I'm a little bit different. I'm kind of happy in my life and my world right now. I don't need to have millions and millions of dollars in order to live a happier life. I'm already happy, so this is good. So this is why I want to share, because it gives me great satisfaction to see other people succeed. So in the state of Georgia, for example, and right here we are in the state of Georgia, basically, we have a pretty much straight up bid, basically, I guess you could call it. So the tax commissioner, let's say, adds up what is owed on taxes, how much was spent on advertising and fees and all this other stuff, and just basically that's the minimum bid. And so you go to the auction, you bid on that, there's other bidders, people bid more, and you basically bid up to the amount that finally the property is sold at, and that's the price that you pay to get a sheriff's deed. Now there's a little bit of a redemption period, so the original owners have still some time to pay back you that money, plus 20%, and get that property back. However, this is where usually used to not be all the time, but now pretty much all the time, because real estate values have gone up. The property values have gone up so much that there's always an overage generated. And an overage is basically just the delta of what is paid at the auction versus what the minimum bid is. So there's like a little bit of a difference. And sometimes it's a big difference. So that overage by law actually is due to the original owner that lost the property at that sale. Now, through various reasons, it could be that the original owner is missing or deceased or just is not interested, has basically deserted the property and is like, hey, I'm out of here, don't want anything to do with it anymore. Believe it or not, I've seen that lots of times. Not as much here in Savannah, but in other counties here in Georgia, I've seen that, especially places that are a little bit more depressed and aren't such great areas to live. People kind of like, I'm not maintaining this property in this bad neighborhood. I'm just going to walk away. I inherited it from my grandma. I don't want it. That kind of thing. They just walk away and they can't be found. So this overage sits on the county's books, basically. They have a separate account for overages, and the money just sits there, and it's basically waiting to be claimed by somebody. So that part of the infomercials, the late night infomercials that you listen to, hey, there's money in government accounts waiting to be collected by you, and I can help you. That part is actually true. That actually does happen. Does it happen very often? Is it actually owed to you? Questionable. Do you need somebody else to collect it for you? Certainly not. You can do this yourself. But this is a whole nother show. Let's not talk about that right now. What happened last week is I actually got a letter from one of these third-party overage collectors in my mail. And then I got like 2 more from different ones. So apparently my name showed up on some list somewhere stating that some overage is owed to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm a smart person. I've been doing this for a minute. Let me check out and see what's going on. And let's just start right here, because the letter actually had the proper ID. And it even said Chatham County. So Chatham County Tax Commissioner's website actually has an overage list on their website. They used to not have this. You would have to actually go ask them for it. But now they have this online, and you can look at this. And actually, my name shows up. And by the way, if you're listening here, right here locally in Georgia, you can go to this list and actually see my name there for an overage that is owed to me for some $800. And I'm like, this is kind of peculiar, because first off, I didn't see anywhere where a property was sold that I used to own or own. And I watched the sale here in Chatham County very carefully because I own a lot of property here and certainly don't want to lose any of my property at a tax sale. That's how I got the properties in the first place. So I would know this. So I'm like, this is kind of peculiar because this is not something this is very odd, basically. So sure enough, my name shows up on this list. I pull up the list. And at first, I'm looking at this property ID. It pulls up, and this is where it gets very confusing. So please bear with me here. This is because I got a bunch of mail. Obviously, while I was gone, I don't check my mail. So I got like a whole bunch of letters. And I always get letters, people wanting to buy my homes. I show up on the world's lists of every real estate investor that wants to solicit me via mail, pretty much. So I get 2 or 3 mailings pretty much a day on any of my properties. And you can imagine how many those are because I have a lot. So I get a lot of mail. I got a lot of paper. I can pretty much, heat my house one day for a year or so, just burning the paper, making small fires outside. And I do that actually. So anyway, getting sidetracked here, let's get back to the point. So this is where it gets very confusing. Apparently somebody found this overage and wanted to help me collect it. So I look at this list by the Chatham County Tax Commissioner. It has a proper ID. It literally has my name, and it says that some $800 are owed to me on an overage. And I'm like, what property was this on? And so what happened is it's actually a property I used to own back, I believe I bought it in 2017. So this is 6 years ago. So I look at this property as a property I bought at a tax sale for, I believe it was minimum bid 6 years ago. And the reason I got it for minimum bid is I think it was like the first one or the last one that was called at that auction. And either people weren't prepared to bid yet and the auction went too fast for them, or else most people had already gone because they all bought something, whoever had money, and the rest of them just weren't interested anymore. This is a while ago. This is 6 years ago. This is not like recently. Recently, people do pay attention because property prices certainly went up. This is pre-pandemic. And so I bought this property. I held it for almost a year, and I actually made videos about this on my YouTube channel. You can actually go to my YouTube channel and look at pictures of this property. It wasn't inside, obviously, but I took pictures from the street. Also, this property was in not that great of a neighborhood here in Savannah, but it was a gentrifying neighborhood, I guess. It was on the west side of Savannah, so it was on West 38th Street or something like that. So it was over on that side of town. But of course, SCAD's expanding down that way anyway, so I'm seeing a lot of gentrification down that way anyway. So this would be a great area to have a home right now. So what happened is that, and I mentioned this in this video, and by the way, if you are listening to this radio show later on my YouTube channel, I'm going to link that video on the bottom where you can see the pictures of this home and the videos I made back then. This particular property was basically a single-story shotgun-style house, one of those very simple, but it looked like it was put together really well, and it looked nice as far as I could tell. It was locked. It was for sale years prior to that, but it's been vacant and boarded up for a while. And I think previously it was advertised for like $50,000 or something, but this was even prior to when I bought it. So before 6 years ago, even earlier than that. And on the last day, I believe it was like the week before, or maybe 2 or 3 days before the redemption period was up, and I was about to foreclose on this property. The original owners came back, and it was actually not a person. It was a representative from a trust fund in the state of New York. And they're the ones that were the actual previous owners. And they freaked out. This lady called me and she's like, oh my God, I didn't know. We didn't pay the taxes. We didn't know that it went to the tax foreclosure sale. We didn't know that you bought it, but what can we do to get it back right now? Is there still time? And I said, yeah, of course there's still time. Of course, in my mind, I'm like, dang, I really wanted to keep this property, but, I have to follow the law just like everybody else. So I'm like, yeah, of course, you have to give me back what I paid plus 20%. That's the law here in the state of Georgia, and you have to transfer that money to me to have it in hand, and I'll write a quitclaim deed and I'll record it for you. And that's what I did. And we did that. We went back and forth for a little bit because they're like, didn't understand why they had to pay the extra 20%. But I explained to them, that's the process here in Georgia. That's what we do. And this is why we invest in tax sale foreclosures, is to get the property or the 20%. So never mind. It wasn't that big of an amount. It was less than $1,000. She paid her 20%, $200, whatever it was. And in addition to that, I got the money. I recorded the quitclaim deed. I basically gave the property back. And for me, the issue was done. However, apparently, either the quitclaim deed wasn't recorded, which I don't think so because I walked it to the courthouse personally and I have a receipt, or something, I don't know what happened at this particular tax sale, but for some reason, my name showed up as one of the people that those $800 are still owed to. So this is very peculiar to me because I don't understand this, even as of this point. But I did make a phone call to the tax sale commissioners 2 days ago, or actually it was 2 days ago on Monday. And I'm going to tell you right after this little break what they said. And we are kind of at the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to play some announcements first and a little bit of music. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this overage, which is owed to me, which I actually don't think is owed to me. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Be right back after this. So stay on. Don't go anywhere. Actually playing a little bit more jewelry songs here today because it's overcast. That's the kind of music we need for a day like today. Be right back. Stay on. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to your radio station, WRUU, which is presented by people just like you, people from your community. The voices you hear are your neighbors, coworkers, and other Savannah residents. Therefore, WRUU is your community radio station. So won't you please help by donating whatever you can afford to help your neighbors stay on the air? Go to WRUU.org and support your local radio station with a monetary contribution of any amount. Again, you can support your local radio station at WRUU.org. Thank you.
From our cobblestone streets to our stately homes, discover Savannah's maritime history and what makes Savannah, Savannah. One of the hidden secrets of Savannah is the Gardens of the Ships of the Sea Museum. Picnic here and enjoy our complimentary Wi-Fi. More information can be found at shipsofthesea.org.
And I'm back here with Real Estate Real Talk with Julia M. Spencer. Thank you for tuning in to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. And I am so glad to be back here in our beautiful city of Savannah, the hostess city of the South, and live right here in the studio. So if you are downtown near the WRUU.org offices, we are actually near Troop Square, right real close to the St. John the Baptist Church and the girls' school that's like right across the street here. So really close to the Fox and Fig. So if you ever around at this time, come to the studio, wave to the window, and yeah, we're going to try to make some hype here about our show here, and good vibes only. So we're really glad that you're here, that you're listening, and really glad that you're supporting our local radio station here, community radio. It's what it's all about. This is where radio got its roots, and we are still doing it. So we're the authentic radio station here, right here in Savannah, Georgia. Really glad to be here and be part of it. Now let's talk today a little bit more about real estate, because this is what this show is about. I'm a local real estate investor here. Had this show since, I believe, 2016 or 2017. I can't remember now. It's been a while. And I have a YouTube channel, so you can check me out there as well, Julia M. Spencer. I talk about topics related to real estate investing, anything I learn about real estate. I'm completely self-taught. I'm not an agent. I don't work for a mortgage company or anything like that. I'm just kind of like an individual that's trying to make it in this world, like all of you all out there, or y'all, I should say. And I really enjoy what I do. So here is me sharing my love and my passion project. On today's show, we're talking about overages, and for some reason, the fact that Chatham County believes that they owe me an overage. And so this is what happened when I actually called them the other week. Now, you need to probably listen to the first part of the show again in order to figure out what this is all about. But apparently a house was sold, there was an overage generated, and now for some reason the county thinks that overage is owed to me, which I don't think it is, but, that's the first part of the show. Let's talk about what happened when I actually called the tax commissioner 2 days ago on Monday. I did speak to a lady, and unfortunately, I kind of call people a little bit later in the day, so they're not really willing as much to help me as they are maybe more in the morning when they're a little bit more energized. So I call about 4:30 p.m. I think they're closing around 5. Takes forever for anybody to pick up, but finally somebody picked up, and I kind of tell them the story, and the first thing she said was like, well, I can't give you any information on the phone. I was like, so what do I do? Do I need to go there in person? And she's like, well, the person that you need to speak to, she's not here anymore. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do? He's like, well, if you think that an overage is owed to you, what will happen is you'll have to fill out this form, and the form apparently is online. I already saw it. It's a 2-page form. And put in your information and send it in to us. And then we will research it and we'll get back with you. And I'm like, okay, well, what if I don't know for sure that an overage is actually owed to me? Just my name showed up. Do I still need to fill out this form? Like, I don't want to claim money, obviously. Here's a caveat to you listeners out there, my dear listeners. I'm from Russia originally, grew up in Germany. I'm a U.S. citizen for 30 years. I'm a complete fan of the United States of America. But if somebody gives me free money, I'm going to take it, whether it really is mine or not. Crucify me morally on this, but I really, don't care because I got to feed my kids. But going back to this, it's $800. It's not that big of a deal. And if it's not owed to me, at least I want to figure out where in the process things went wrong so I can make a YouTube video about it or talk to you about it here on the show. So this is my goal right now. So I'm telling this lady on the phone, Chatham County Tax Commissioner, I'm telling her, lady, I don't think this money is owed to me. This money was already paid to me by the original owner who lost the property at the tax sale 6 years ago and has since redeemed it within the 1-year time frame that we have here in the state of Georgia. This lady, completely oblivious to this on the phone, had no idea how the process worked. Obviously, I wasn't talking to the right person. So she's like, well, you need to speak to this other lady. She gave me the name. I'm not going to mention it here on the radio. And talk to her about this. So, but you really should instead just fill out the form and send it to us. So we're going to update this story later on another show right here on Real Estate Real Talk. I have to fill out the form and send it in, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened after this. But at least it saved me a trip to the Chatham County's tax office there, off of Oglethorpe, I believe, and over there by the old Civic Center. And I haven't gotten the $800 yet, and I'm not going to take it unless they really think that it's owed to me. I don't understand why. But there's more research that needs to be done here. But what I wanted to share with this story is that if somebody does actually contact you, as happened in this case, via letter, obviously they didn't have my phone number, and told me that there's government funds sitting somewhere that are owed to you, kind of perk up your ears a little bit anyways, even though that might or might not be true, you don't know. It doesn't hurt to give those people a call that sent you this letter and just inquire about it. Now, of course, they're not going to tell you where this money is because they want you to sign a contract in order for you to give them permission to go hunt that money and retrieve that money for you. But do know that overage investors in some states are illegal. They're not allowed. I'm not saying illegal in a bad way, but they actually are not something that a county will pay money out to for the actual owner. The owner would have to do this themselves. And I know there's legal and contractual requirements that can be signed to circumvent that kind of convention. But for the most part, you can do this yourself. So if somebody contacts you and says, hey, there's government funds sitting somewhere for you, go ahead and find out what they're talking about, if there's any way that you can find that out just from the letter, and see if you can get that money yourself without paying a third party. I mean, there's no point in paying that third party. That's my personal opinion, of course. The viewpoints expressed in this program are not necessarily those of WRUU, its license holder, or its staff. My little disclaimer here, I need to read it, should have read that in the beginning, but this is kind of my opinion show. I mean, I don't have low or high regards for overage investors. I believe people that are in overage investing will just want to make quick money, not realizing that it actually takes some effort and time, and it's a full-time job. So if you're not working your overages, you're not making any money. So I always have advocated obtaining real estate, actual real estate, which pays you instead of you paying to make money or paying with your time, obviously. So this is always something that's a little bit of a different kind of business. But of course, if you want to do overage investing and chasing that money down for people as an overage investor, as a third party, in order to get some capital to try to invest to buy real estate, of course, that's a different story. And I applaud you for that. Anybody who's out there hustling like me, I give 100% to you in my support. So we're going to play a little bit more music here, and I'm going to talk to you about the one confusing thing that happened about this whole story and try to unravel that a little bit on this show. We don't have that much more time. We only have 20 more minutes, and we're going to get close to the end here. So please stay on. Don't go anywhere. And play some, let's see, what are we going to play? Let's play this song by Team ID. And it's Latch. It's actually a remake. Be right back. Please stay on. Don't go anywhere. That was Latch, originally by Disclosure. This is Team ID. It was a remake. Thank you so much for tuning in for Real Estate Real Talk with Julia M. Spencer. We're actually got about 13 minutes left, I believe. Let me look and see, 14 about. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this ongoing story about this supposed overage that was owed to me and a confusing thing that happened. For some reason, when I looked initially at the different property IDs, because remember when I got these letters about this overage that was owed to me, there was no address. It basically just had a parcel ID on the letter. And I got 3 different letters. And this is where it became a little confusing. For some reason, these letters all came in all together. I actually got 2 other letters that were what I determined later unrelated to this particular overage, but basically another investor who got my name from a tax sale foreclosure sale and a results list, which are also published right now on the tax commissioner's website. Again, these lists used to not be published on their website. This is stuff that you would have to ask them, or you would have to basically go to the sale and write down whoever bid, or, find it out from the tax commissioner themselves. So these lists are now available publicly, and anybody can look at them. So for some reason now I get a lot more mail because people are like, oh, she bought properties at a tax sale. Let's send her some letters, see if we can buy it from her. And so 2 properties I bought in June of last year. It's almost been a year, so almost redemption periods are up here. And they basically stated that, hey, we know that you bought these properties and we're going to give you lots of money for them. And by the way, not only are we offering you this money, and this is like an extraordinary amount of money, way more than the properties are actually worth. Here's a contract, sign it and send it back to us. And then you're on contract for us to buy this property, and we're going to close in 8 days. So this is extraordinary. I've never seen this before. This is a new thing. So, but what I went ahead and did some Google searches and actually called the number and basically wanted to find out, why are you offering me this much money? I know the property is not worth that much, and they're like, oh, well, give us the property ID, give us your phone number, give us your name, and somebody will call you back. So I was a little hesitant at first. I don't like people having my name and my number and the permission to call me at all hours of the day. So, but I did eventually give them my number, my business number actually, and asked them, okay, here's my number, call me back. So far, nobody's called me back, but I did go on a Google search and try to find out what this is all about. What's this investing scheme? But what it actually is, it's people that don't show up to the actual sales, because obviously here in Georgia, it's an in-person sale. So investors from other states can't just come to every state. And they certainly can't come to every county in Georgia, because the sale is only once a month, usually the first Tuesday of the month. So they basically get these lists of the people that want these properties and contact them from those lists. They have addresses and they have names. And this is their mailings go to those people. And they purposefully put these large numbers on these letters of an amount that they want to pay for these properties, so they can get a call back. And this is also how they determine how desperate they are to sell, basically, and get contacts. This is basically just a marketing scheme. It's not really an offer for you to make that money. And the contract that is attached actually has a little clause in there that says that the other party, the buyer, has 8 days or 10 days or something to cancel the contract for any reason, whatever reason. So basically, it's just a marketing scheme to get your number and get your name and find out what you got. So it's really clever. I think it's very, very clever. I've never thought of this, but if you're looking to get the attention of somebody, this is the way to do it. You find the name on some public list, you send them a letter, you make them an offer, you actually add a contract. It looks like a real contract, it looks like I'm a buyer, I'm buying for this amount, and you're the seller, please sign here. It looks like a contract, but that little clause basically makes it worthless, makes that contract worthless. If you write in there that the buyer can basically cancel for any reason, it's not a contract. It's just garbage, basically. So you can sign it, see where it leads you. But what I've read online from online chat groups and real estate chat groups that I belong to, it's basically just a scam. A lot of times the people don't call you back, or don't call you back for a long time, or else they kind of redact their offer and basically say, well, I know we offered you this much, but after we did our research, it looks like the property is only worth like 1/10 of what we initially offered you. So basically, it's just a marketing scheme, basically. It's to try to find cheap properties and kind of lure you into this deal, and find out who's really desperate to sell. That was the real confusing part, because for some reason the numbers got mixed up. So the letters that I got to buy these other 2 properties that are bought at the June of 2022 tax sale got mixed up with this property that apparently an overage is due to me on, as well as a third property which I had sold to one of my contractors. So, and this was going very close to my heart, because the people I sell properties to, I want to sell them good properties. I don't sell them garbage. So, and obviously, if they're not catching up on their taxes, they're going to lose the property. And I'm going to, kind of nudge them if I find out about it. A lot of times when you sell a property in 1 year, you are still responsible for the taxes, and you're actually on the address for the tax bill to be sent out to you instead of the new owner until the end of the year. And so I forward the tax bill, but then, if it doesn't get paid, I nudge them and make sure that they pay it so they don't lose their newly acquired property from me to another tax sale. So very careful about this. So all these numbers got confused. I think what's happening with these overage, and they think this overage is due to me, is something got mixed up, some numbers got mixed up, or somebody didn't record something, my quitclaim deed, namely. And we're going to research that some more, and we're going to report on that, I guess, in my next show or the next couple shows, and see what develops. And that brings me to the end of my show here for Real Estate Real Talk. My name is Julia M. Spencer. Thank you for listening. Past shows, of course, on my YouTube channel, Julia M. Spencer, or right here on the WRUU.org website if you're listening online, if you're streaming. Please make sure you tune in. Leave me comments, suggestions, any kind of questions that you have. I look forward to get them. I am on every Wednesday at noon. Yeah, I hope you have an awesome Wednesday afternoon. I'll be back next week. Have a great week. You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.